So if you don't have money, you need to have time. The problem is a lot of young people don't have money, but want to build things that require money to grow. So if you're starting young, I'm talking to you, if you're starting young, please hear me out. Find a problem that a single business has that you can solve in exchange for money now, and charge them a maintenance fee to keep things going. And do that 7, 8, 9, 10 times. That's where you start from. And then down the line, you can start to figure out, okay, what are the trends? What are the things that, and go into the utilitarian spaces, go into beauty, food.
Yeah, you're welcome, Eldad.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. We finally made it happen. So
Yeah. Finally. Anyway, so let's just do a short introduction. So tell us about who Eldad is and what you do.
Oh man, that question. It's always hard to answer that question. I'm a curious cat. That's how I define myself. I have a broad range of interests.
Okay.
So I spend my life pursuing whatever I find interesting. Where that has led me to is I solve problems for a living. It really doesn't matter what problem it is or what a domain is. I like to think through. I like to think through things. Now that shows up in different ways, right? Like I have a creative agency that does, strategy, brand, build websites, sometimes apps, but mostly now websites because that's what I enjoy doing. I also do a lot of consulting, so I work with most of the top hubs, so Impact Hubs, Mest, now ALX. I've done some work at Ashesi in the past, mostly talking to entrepreneurs, so people that are building stuff. And I've done that broadly. Now I'm more interested in doing that around the creative economy because I think I've been in the creative space for 10 years and there's a lot of interest now in the creative economy. And I don't think there are enough connectors between people that understand the creative culture in Ghana and then the business aspects of things. And that's always been like a place that I've loved to operate at. So now I spend a lot of my time doing that. And I like coaching. So I coach business owners, I coach entrepreneurs, I coach people who are doing like different things around similar things, strategy, mindset, sometimes brand. But ultimately it comes down to, we have a problem, we need to solve it, right? So that's what I enjoy. And then I'm building a bunch of different things. So I guess you could tag on an entrepreneur. So depending on where you find me, you meet like a different version of me. But generally I'm problem solving for different people. That's the main thing.
That's like a lot of areas. So hasn't that gotten you to do so many things? And people say that if you do so many things, you don't become an expert at like one particular area.
Yeah.
But hasn't that gotten to you?
No, so that statement is true, but it doesn't always, I don't think it always has. Okay, so let's just go through it.
Okay.
If you do so many things, you don't become an expert at one thing. That's true. Because like I have friends who started product design with me from 2016, 2017, who are now like lead product designers at some of the top tech companies. I'm not, right? Because they went deep. They took one idea and then they followed it all the way to the end. I went wide, right? So it doesn't make me an expert on any one thing, but what it does make me an expert at is problem solving across multiple domains, right? So you have people that are builders and people that are architects. I think I'm more of an architect. I'm more of the guy that sees the bird's eye view of everything and understand where things can fit. But I can't go as deep as like the guy who has spent 2 years doing electricals. So I know enough about electricals to know what needs to happen, but then I need to go find the experts to be able to do the thing. So it's a different path if you choose to go broad. And sometimes it's frustrating because the world is not designed for broad people. The world is designed for people that are specialists. And I have felt that frustration multiple times. But I can't bring myself to be a specialist. It's physically impossible. So I've had to spend the last 2.5 to 3 years really trying to figure out, okay, if I'm going to be a journalist, like what is the path for me? And that's mostly led me to just building my own things. And I was like creating a career for myself out of being the guy that can see the forest, right? Yeah. So it is easier the way the world is designed to just be an expert in one thing. But if you can't, for the few people who are like me, who are journalists, who really can't do that, I think you need to accept the fact that you're a journalist and find ways to make that profitable. And I think for me, I found that through consulting. I found that through being a strategist, being a problem solver for other people.
Yeah, I don't think you're expecting product design though.
Probably. It's the thing I probably spent the longest doing for any focused amount of time. So maybe I have a certain yeah, maybe I have a certain like expertise in product design.
Yeah.
But even that, it's not on the tool level, right? It's more on the principle level. So, like, and that's another thing. When people think product design, like, it's like, what level of product design you're thinking about? Because a lot of people, when they hear product design, they hear the actual physical thing of being in Figma designing something.
Yeah.
But product design is the level at which I do it is more the understanding of the business case, understanding the user context, the strategy, the user experience design, things of that nature. So, like, I still do product design every day, but I don't touch Figma. Like, I don't remember the last time I opened Figma to design an app or design a UI. But I'm doing wireframes, I'm doing sketches, I'm drawing flow diagrams. Like, yeah. So at that level, you can say that I'm an expert in product design. But
yeah. I'm more interested in your journey till now. So like right after the university.
Yeah.
Or did you start like your whole journey during your time in the university?
Yeah, I did. Okay. So I started working second year. Well, to be fair, you can actually say my journey started before the university, right? Okay. So I was a science student. I went to Klah Senior High School, Kita School, and I knew I didn't want to do medicine. I knew I didn't want to do engineering, but I didn't know what other options there were. Because, in Ghana, a smart boy, go do medical, that be there, or be engineer, doctor. Right? Exactly. So in my second year of high school, I met a teacher, Gamali, who I said this to. I'm like, I don't want to be a doctor, I don't want to be an engineer. Like, but I'm doing a science. What do I do? I said, think about computer science. I was like, okay, interesting. What is that? So he kind of broke it down for me, like, told me how computers are going to become the next big thing. This is like 2008, 2009. The next big thing. And he thinks I'm a curious person and I have a certain kind of brain that could function well in that space. So in 2009, I decided I was going to do computer science. So I started preparing for my computer science degree in second year in high school. Wow. I started learning how to type. I started learning Python because he also knew like a little bit of programming. So he gave me a bunch of books. So that's kind of where my journey started from. But then when I got to university, so I'd been preparing. So by the time I got to university, I'd done like basic programming. I'd done basic HTML and CSS. I could build like basic web pages. I'd learned like a good chunk for like an 18, 19-year-old going to the university. And it's to be Ghanaian for that matter, right? However, after my first semester in university, I realized that even with all that knowledge, my brain doesn't work like that. Because I saw all these boys in my class, all these Presec boys and from all these different schools, and I saw the ease with which they were grasping certain programming concepts and how hard it was for me to grasp, even though I had a lot of exposure than they did. Yeah. And I was like, I don't think my brain is designed. And throughout high school, alongside all these different things, I also loved to do design. So I tried different types of design and, so I was at this impasse where I was like, okay, my mentor said to stay in computer science, but then I can't program. And then so I used to hang around. There was a place called the Tech Hub. It was a Vodafone-funded innovation hub in Kenya at the time. That was where like Pharmaline came out of, M-Notify. So all those guys were there in my first year. I think they were in their final year or so. So I would go sleep there after school, after lectures. And by hanging around them, I discovered there was this thing called UI UX design. So I was like, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. So that's how in 2014, 5 years from deciding to do computer science, I decided I'm just going to be a UI UX designer. And at the time in Ghana, it was crazy. Like, nobody was paying you to be a designer. You have to code. So everybody was looking at me like, are you mad? But I was like, no, and because of the exposure I had with these guys, I could tell that it was going to be a trend. And that was another skill that I have. I think I'm able to see things like way before they happen. So I believed like it was going to become a thing. So I, just committed to it. By 2017, I was the design guy in the computer science department. So at the time, anything design is Eldad. Like, even though I was in the computer science department, I'd gotten internships in it. So by the time I graduated from school, I could safely say I was one of the earliest UI UX designers in the country because there weren't that many people in 2014 who were like, they were UI UX designers. So in 2017, 2018, I had a lot of opportunities because the tech space in Ghana was just waking up to like, oh, we need design. And we need people that could design interfaces. But then nobody was being trained for it yet. Yeah. And I had 5, like from 23 years, 4 years of just like learning on my own, practicing. I used to design in Illustrator. Like I used to design UIs in Illustrator.
Wow, that's so difficult.
Yeah. Even Photoshop. Because I remember when I was doing my national service at the UITS, University IT Services. I did a whole app in Photoshop. Like one of the school's apps. Yeah. So by 2018, I had this huge leverage. I've been doing this for like 4 years. I taught myself and everybody needed it. So I had opportunities like crazy. So that's kind of where the journey started from. So from me wanting to do computer science to me getting the computer science, realizing that actually my brain would work like that, to deciding, okay, I have to stay in the industry, but not to focus on the design side, and then becoming one of the earliest people in the country to be like, oh, I'm a UI UX designer, and kind of starting and communicating around it. So that's sort of what happened up until I graduated. And God being so good, when I graduated, a year after my national service, I got a job in a company called Code Hub. They were a new tech company. They were just coming up. And then the founder was very design driven, right? So he wanted somebody that was a good designer. So he hired me, and basically it was carte blanche. It was a blank check. He's built a tech company. It was doing well. He has money. He wanted to build like the next generation company. I was like, okay, you come and be in charge of design. So I got in there, and I think that was what changed it, because up until now, I've been learning things, but I've not really had the opportunity to try them. I don't have the best tools. I don't have the best laptop, like nothing, right?
Yeah.
But this guy got me a MacBook, paid for, like, at the time it was Sketch. Like, that's how, I don't think most people even know what Sketch is right now. A lot of people know Figma, but, paid for tools, anything I needed. So that gave me this huge opportunity and funding to just like pursue design at a very deep level, and eventually end up building a team. And then the rest is kind of history from there. But that was kind of how my journey in design. Now, me getting to where I am right now is a different part. So if you want to ask about that, we can get there. But that's from high school to me becoming like one of the earliest product designers in the country, building a community around it, and just being a champion for like good product design. So people that know me from way back still know me as a product designer, because that was when I was the loudest and I was the most public. And since then, I've not been, outside like that. So some people still see me and they go, oh, yeah, I made all that. It's a UI designer. I'm like, I hardly do that anymore, but okay.
But the Code Hub, I remember when I was in level 300 or 200, there were a company I wanted to work for. And the reason was because of the design of their website. I don't know if you're the one who designed it.
Yeah, I was the one that did that website.
You scroll, you get to a part, and when you're scrolling, the images move horizontally. Like, I really like that. At that time, I used to do front-end design.
Right.
So I was like, this company, I like their website, and I like to work for them. But I don't know, something happened and I didn't end up working for them.
That website took us a year to design. Because at the time, 2019, there were not that many websites in the country that were like designed to that level of fidelity and quality. Like, we're looking at InVision, Apple, Microsoft, like that was our inspiration. And I think Weno was like this big design company at the time that used to work for like all the top brands. Like, so the philosophy there was like, we really wanted to build something that was unique. So everything we did was structured after like because I was leading the design team there, but like a team of 6. So everything we did was structured after like everything I've heard from like people at these big companies, and so that was cool.
Okay. So now let's get into startups, right? Because that's the focus of this channel.
Yeah.
So the goal is to make people or young people out there get into building businesses. It's not only about tech businesses, any kind of business. Yeah. So let's get into that. And I would like to jump. Let's go straight to pricing, right? So there are people who have built businesses. Even for myself, I've built a business and I don't know exactly how to price it, right? I wanted to go with a subscription model, but I found out that people in Ghana wouldn't really like that, because like every month you want to take this amount of money. What value are you giving to me, right? So how do you advise people to go about it pricing when it comes to pricing the businesses that they build?
I think pricing is layered. Like, pricing is very, very layered. Because, like, for example, you said that people in Ghana don't subscribe to that, but people in Ghana pay subscriptions for like Netflix, pay for like Apple Music. So I like, why are they able to do that and then they are not able to do that in a different case? So I think pricing is layered. I would say one, obviously depends on the audience, right? Who are you selling to? It depends on the product. What product are you selling? And also the kind of problem that the product is solving, right? And then it depends on the quality of the product, the need of the product. So there isn't any one specific thing that goes like, oh, this is the formula for pricing, right? So let's break it down. First is like, let's talk about the problem. Like, what problem are you solving and for whom? There are some problems that are recurring problems. There are problems that I have to solve every single day. Like, I need to eat every day. I need to move every day. I need to wear clothes every day. These are things I have to do on the daily, right? Yeah. It makes sense to want to, like, you pay for food every day. You don't pay for food once on Monday and go like, okay, I finished paying for food for the rest. So some problems lend themselves to just recurring payments because they have a short lifespan. Like, you solve them like once, but you have to keep solving them over and over and over and over again, right? But there are certain problems, you solve them once, you don't solve them again. Does that make sense? Yeah. So it depends on the nature of the problem you're solving. Is it a problem that lends itself to like recurring payments, or is it a problem that's like if somebody solves it once, they don't solve it ever again? Now, in the tech world, people have figured out a way to take problems that are only solved once and make them feel like problems that you have to solve over and over again.
Yeah.
Cloud storage. Technically, I have a hard drive, I've stored my thing, that's the end, right? But they figured out a way to go like, oh, because of safety, security, access, yada, yada, we're going to put it somewhere, and then you basically get to rent it. So the first thing is like, what's the nature of the problem? The second thing is, who are you selling to? Right? Because there are certain people that will be perfectly fine with paying you something recurring if they think it makes sense. But there are certain people that just want to pay you one time and go away. Right? So you have to really understand who the audience is. So like, let's get practical. So the business that you built, right? What business was it?
It's for reviewing businesses.
Okay. So what, like, tell me how the business works.
Yeah. So basically, a business owner shares a link with their customers, the audience. So, and then the audience like can send in reviews based on their business.
Okay.
Right. And it's for this kind of proof. So if I want to go and buy something from a particular business, let's say a restaurant, I can go to this page, check out their reviews before I go to that restaurant. So kind of delivering social proof.
Okay. Okay. So the question here is, if your product doesn't exist, how will it impact the revenue of the businesses you're trying to sell to?
That's a good question.
No, like actually, let's talk through it. Like, will it impact it like on a scale of 1 to 10? Will it impact it at like 2, or will it impact it at 10?
It's not really going to impact it. Maybe it will impact the business and maybe let's say 3 or 4.
Okay, so that's the number one problem. You don't you're not tackling a pain point. And when you're not tackling the pain point, nobody wants to pay for it because I can do without you.
Okay. Yeah, I get your points that are coming from, right? But the thing too is that it's not directly tackling their problem, but then it gives them the opportunity to open up their business to more people.
Yes.
Draw people,
You're right.
And that in turn gives them more money.
Yes, and that's the other thing about solving problems on the African continent. I've said this a couple of times on like some things I posted on LinkedIn. African businesses are survival businesses, they're not growth businesses. They spend money on things that prevents them from dying, not things that create more growth and more opportunity.
Yeah.
So for young founders, I basically tell them, and we call it painkillers and vitamins. Like, what you're selling is a vitamin. If I have it, it makes things better. But you need painkillers in Africa because this is the thing that if I don't get, something is broken. If I don't get, I'm hurting. If I don't get, there is something physically wrong with me, right? So for a lot of young people building businesses in Africa, you have to build painkiller businesses because that is where you're more likely to get adoption and to monetize. With vitamin businesses, with businesses that require a certain growth mindset, most of Africa isn't there yet. So when I see a lot of people build startups and like they talk me through the problem, I'm like, nobody's going to pay for that because it doesn't hurt. So it's like, if your product is not there and I'm still fine. So let's say, for example, business is doing like 20,000 cedis a month, right? Okay, how much is your subscription? How much do you want to sell it for?
I'm yet to come up with a number.
Okay, but let's pick a number. Let's say it's 50 cedis a month, okay? In a year, it's like 600 cedis. It's not a lot of money, right? But the question is, if I don't pay you that 600 cedis, do I lose money? If the answer is no, then I'm not going to pay you. But if it's like, if I don't pay that 600 cedis, I'm losing 6,000 cedis and I can feel it in my pockets, then it's like, yeah, I'm good, because it's a no-brainer, right? What's 600 cedis compared to 6,000 cedis? So when you are building products, even before you get to the pricing, it's like you have to really understand, like, am I solving a real problem? Right. So that's the thing about building a business that I think a lot of developers, a lot of young startup founders on the continent don't understand, the country don't understand. It starts with the customer and their pain, not what you want to do.
Yeah.
Many people are like, oh, I have this cool idea, I want to build it. And then they go into code and then they build this elaborate thing. And then they come to market and they go like, why is nobody buying it? Why does anybody want to pay me? It's like, because nobody wants it. Right? Like, you think it's cool, but nobody really cares. Yeah. So like, you have to fundamentally understand that for me to remove money in my pocket and give you, you need to be doing something for me that I think is important. If I don't think it's important, there's no amount of selling or convincing that you can do that will make me. And if you believe that it's important, then you have to find the story or the angle that gets me to see that it's important. Yeah. Before I'm able to make the commitment, right? So it depends on the customer. It depends on the intensity of the problem. Before all the other things will come. But if you don't have the right customer, and if you're not solving the right problem for the right customer, like, having a pricing conversation is not even like... So a lot of people struggle with pricing because they don't have a good service. A lot of people struggle with pricing because they've mismatched their service to the person they're selling it to. Here's another example I give for designers. The Instagram shop owner, okay, will not pay you 10,000 cedis for brand identity or for a website. because they don't have the money.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter how good you think your website is or how great you think it's going to bring the business. They don't have the money. And they're not going to find it to come and give. They are like, it doesn't work like that, right? But the business owner that has been around for like 7, 8, 9, 10 years, they're looking to grow. Yeah, they might pay you 10,000 cedis for a website. But the question is, do you have the skills, abilities, organization, structure to go engage with that business and then make 10,000 cedis? So that's another thing about pricing, which is like big money moves slow. And big money requires certain systems and setup. So another reason why people struggle with pricing, the young entrepreneurs, is they are trying to make money they're not ready to handle.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like I said, it's not a very straightforward thing. There are so many factors to consider when you're like, okay, here's how I'm going to price something. But at the base, you have to find the right person, and then you have to make sure you're solving the right problem for the right person. If that is there, pricing is easier. But if that's not there, pricing is like very, very difficult.
That leads me to my next question. Is there a playbook for creating a business in Africa? Because it looks like majority of the startups that have done well in Africa are fintechs, right? Because fintech, moving money, it works. But then when you look at other areas, you don't see many startups in other areas. So do you think there's a playbook?
What do you mean by a playbook? Because I think the word playbook is interesting. So do you mean like a series of formulas and things that I can check to go like, okay, this is an industry to build in?
Exactly, yeah.
Yes and no.
Okay.
So why do businesses work? It's so simple. It's so shockingly simple that we miss it. Businesses work because people have a problem that needs to be solved, and somebody has figured out a way to connect all the dots between that problem and the solution. Right? So a lot of the factors that influences the feasibility of the business is actually about the environment, the structural, cultural, economical, whatever, like civil nature of the environment. Now, in Africa, we are still at the utilitarian layer, okay? So there are things that are called utility businesses, like my example from the beginning. They are the kinds of businesses that you need to make life happen.
Okay.
Money, food, transportation, housing, clothes, healthcare, education. So if you look in Africa, the biggest businesses are in those 7 sectors. And any technology that is doing well is attached to those sectors. So if there were a playbook in Africa, I would say build things that are adjacent to, that are supporting those 7 sectors. Because Africa is not at the point where we've solved those fundamental problems to now be on the convenient layer. The reason why the Review app you build is going to work in the US is that the US is at the point where infrastructure is no longer a problem. So people are solving for comfort and convenience. So anything that enables comfort and convenience is actually more patronized. But in Africa, it's not like there's nobody who cares about convenience and comfort, but is that is not the biggest market. That's not the biggest industry. So let's take fintech, for example. The reason why fintech work is because moving money is a necessity for every single individual who's doing business on the continent or who wants to interact with the continent. And even then, it took them a long time to crack it.
Yeah.
Right? But here's the other thing a lot of people don't realize. I used to work in a fintech as a product manager. And when I was in there, the thing I learned is that most fintechs are Paystack and Flutterwave wrappers.
Okay.
The day Paystack and Flutterwave were having a bad day, I don't know how it is now, but in 2021, 2022, that was certainly the case. The day Paystack and Flutterwave were having a bad day, the entire fintech ecosystem is having a bad day.
Yeah.
Because everyone is just building a wrapper on top of them. But why would it work? Because moving money is a necessary thing. And because Paystack and Flutterwave had built the infrastructure, this is to come and build on top of that. The challenge is we need to now go and do that in all the other areas in Africa. We need to go do that in education. We need to go do that in healthcare. We need to go do that in housing, transportation, accommodation, agriculture. So even if you see like where funding is going right now in the African ecosystem, it's towards those things. Skills development, agriculture, agri-tech. Like that's where the money is going. Why? Because that's where the biggest problem is. Now, here is the challenge for a young person who is trying to build anything on the continent. Most of those businesses are capital intensive. They are network intensive. You can't just get up and build a business in education. You can't just get up and build a business in agriculture. You can't just get up and build a business in logistics. Why? Because there are such big problems that to do it well, you need deep pockets and you need the consent of so many forces in power.
Yeah.
Which is why those businesses tend to be grown for games. So like the time I used to talk about this, the young people in Africa, we're in a really, really hard place because they keep telling us to build, but the necessary things that we have to build for, we are not in a position to build because we don't have the capital, we don't have the networks.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it doesn't mean you shouldn't try to build things because you can model that thinking at every level. Okay, so let's say I can't go take on like education. I can't go take on any of those things, but I could go look at a school and go like, okay, whilst I cannot solve the foundational problem, what other needs do they have on the surface that I can attack and try from there? But I have to attach myself to these industries that are necessary, right? Like IoT. When IoT came out, IoT was a thing. Everybody was trying to build IoT. How many IoT startups have you seen today?
Yeah.
Why? Because nobody cared about IoT. Nobody needed IoT. Africa is not at a point where we need IoT. So it's really about the environment. So the only playbook is go where the problem is.
Mm-hmm.
At whatever layer. And in Africa, the biggest businesses are in those 7 areas, and your biggest customer is the government. Because that's the problems that we have. It doesn't mean you can't have businesses on top. So if a young person is trying to build, that's the first thing you have to understand. But the second thing also is, what are like emerging trends? E-commerce is an emerging trend. Everybody and their uncle has like an Instagram shop. Everybody's trying to sell online. Okay, go and solve a problem there. But don't go and solve a problem that you think should be solved. Go and speak to the people and ask them, hey, what do you have? What do you need?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So even for the review thing, actually might be more useful for the online shoppers because they need reviews.
Exactly.
But how much are they willing to pay you for that? Are they willing to pay a subscription? Like, so you have to go to where the problem is and really try to understand it and really try to understand who has the problem. So I would say in Africa is go where the problem is.
Mm-hmm.
And don't expect it to be easy because we don't have the foundation. But here's the encouragement for a lot of young people who are trying to build in Africa. You have to understand that you are not coming to benefit from a system. You're coming to create a system that people will benefit from. That's also the thing that frustrates a lot of young people. They go like, oh, we're trying to build here. And it's like, they made it so hard. And I'm like, yeah, that's all very true. But that's because we are still in the phase where we are laying the foundations that the West has already laid. So if you see your role as the guy who's coming to create the foundations for your kids to benefit, for your siblings to benefit, for the people in high school to come and benefit from, it changes how you feel about the difficulty. A lot of us are frustrated. We should be, but we are even more frustrated than we ought to be because we think that it should be easier than it ought to be. It's like, it's not.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any playbook, like here are the 6-7 boxes, but the real playbook is look for the trends, look for the problems that people have, look for the places where demand is growing. The unfortunate thing is right now, more of the money they apply are old people. So if you're a young person, you have to be very, very curious about, okay, I can solve problems in those areas, but there are a bunch of other problems. Let me give you another example. I was talking to an investor recently, and he was telling me that, and it's a term that we coined, so I don't know if I say it on this podcast, it doesn't matter. But he was telling me about a big category that is going to come up is support tech. Okay, what does support tech mean? You take real estate, right? Everybody's building real estate. The real estate industry is big. But what is the technological gap in the real estate? Property management. Because now I have properties in all these different places. How do I manage them? How do I keep an eye on the right properties? Do you know what I'm saying? That's an opportunity that's attached to an already growing sector. So if you can go in there and understand, talk to the property managers, really understand them and go like, what do you need? And then try to solve that problem. You have the chance of actually building a tech business that somebody can pay for and somebody can afford to pay for because they are in an industry that is already making money. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But that requires humility because what you're going to build in prop tech is not anything fancy. It's a bunch of crud databases with access control and catering to like the weird demands of everything that the property manager wants to see. You have to go in there and be of service, not to go in and impose your smart idea. So many of us in tech are struggling, or many of us that want to build are struggling because we see the West, we see the things that work, we hear the Zuckerberg stories, we hear, the Crunchbase, and we go like, yeah, we can do something similar. And then we get slapped in the face because the environment just doesn't work like that. So I don't think there's a playbook. I don't think there's a 7-step checklist. But I think if you have a curiosity about problems and you understand that the needs of Africa right now are still in the very foundational fundamental layers, and then you try to find things that are adjacent to that, then you can start to build something. Now, that's on building big things. But otherwise, just build useful things.
Mm-hmm.
Find, like, what problems do your friends have that when you solve for them, they'll pay you? Solve it. Like, that's a way to start. It's a way to train your thinking and finding problems, right? So you don't have to be big. You don't have to build the next unicorn. That's another thing, bro. Everybody wants to build a unicorn. I'm like, go and solve the problem in your community and find a way to get money for it. Here's the math. and I love doing this with like tech founders, right? If let's say you build a business that is charging 50 cedis a month subscription, right? I don't know let's even make it 30. 50 is too much. 30 cedis a month subscription, right?
Okay.
Times 12, that's 360 cedis. Okay. Now 360 times 10 people, that's 360 once that's 3,600 cedis. Okay. What tool can you build that will make 3,600 cedis a year on autopilot? Go figure it out. Like that's how you start.
Yeah.
But many people are not willing to do that. Many people want to build a tech product and start charging 150 cedis, 250 cedis, or $20. I'm like, boy, in Ghana, and I get it. Your tech fees and everything are in dollars, so it's fair to want to denominate your price in dollars. But the reality is, you are on this continent. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I think go where the problem is. For me, that's the only playbook I know. So for me, most of the things I build is looking around and going like. So let me give you an example. We are in a podcast studio right now. Yes. Okay. What's the trend? The trend is everybody is realizing podcasts are important. Podcast is a trend. It's a trend now. All right. What are the different chains of things that happen in a podcast? What's the value chain? Okay, you need a space. You need to book guests. You need to record. You need to edit. Then you need to post. Okay, you as a tech person, you have to go like, okay, in that chain, what problem can I solve? I've not seen a marketplace for podcast studios, but it could be a thing because they're popping up all over the place.
Yeah.
But a business like that could work. I'm not saying it will work for sure, but it could work because there is a trend, there is a need, and I can insert myself to that need. So it's not about what I want to build. It's about how can I be useful. So now you don't have to just depend on this space. You can book 4 or 5 different spaces based on your schedule, based on your guest availability, or somebody has gone and collected that data. But here's the other thing about building businesses in Africa. Legwork, they need pass.
Yeah.
So many of us think like we can sit in our rooms and write some pretty code and then we make money. No, because if you're going to do this podcasting I'm talking about, you have to do the legwork of like going on social media, finding all these places, making sure their information is correct before you list them. So building the technology alone, building the tool alone, is not going to get you the results. You have to then go and do the legwork of like gathering all the information. So like my former boss used to tell me that in Africa, tech is not business. Tech is a business enabler. Because in reality, I can still run that podcasting on an Excel sheet.
That's true. Do
you understand?
That's true.
So that's a reality of the African continent. I think when so many of us want to build, especially in tech, we don't realize that. So we think we're going to write an amazing code, have all the functionalities, it's beautiful, it works, and it can scale, push it, and people are going to buy. It's like, I'm sorry, it's not solving a need, so nobody's going to buy. So I don't think there's any playbook, but for me, these are some of the things I have at the back of my mind. So everything I've tried to build, everything I'm building now is really looking at where's the gap and what's the thing that's necessary. And there are things that I haven't started because I'm like, guy, I know say I don't go to do the legwork. So I won't even bother, right?
Yeah.
So that's my very long answer to like, what's the playbook? I don't think there's one. I think it's just people that are willing to go do the hard things, and it will take you a long time. You have to figure it out, and like you're not going to write, bro. I can tell you how many people have written code. Like people have built so many apps and it doesn't go anywhere. Why? Because it's not solving a real problem. Because the other half is not there, right? So that's sort of like a very long answer to that.
Just so a follow up.
Yeah.
Right? So 2 years ago or 3 years ago, if I go out and I buy something and I want to pay with mobile money, the vendor selling me the thing will probably say that they don't accept mobile money. Right? 5 years ago it was worse. But today it's getting better. Even the Kosiani Meko, the egg pepper seller.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mr. Dan Shock,
Yeah. So you see people have started adopting Momo really quickly.
Yeah.
So my question is, how do you get customers in Ghana or Africa? Like, how do you turn non-consumers to consumers? Do you get it? So you try to convince people that you have to use this tech.
It's money and patience. Because you have to remember the company it's MTN who did this. And there were times where there were so many incentives. If I buy data with Momo, I get 50% more.
Yeah.
So what you are referring to is a behavior change. And behavior change is expensive because it takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of money and it takes a lot of gamifying for you to eventually get to the point where... So I don't think is it the right phrase? So there's something called like network effects, right? So network effect in tech business is basically when you build a business, it has what you call a network, the group of people that are using it. Now, a business with network effects operates in such a way that the more people that join the network, the more valuable the business becomes. So if you take Facebook, for example, or social media, it has a network effect. So the more of your friends you have on social media, the easier it is to use social media and the better it is to use social media because now you have access to more people. Mobile money has the same network effect. The more people that join the network, the easier it is for the next person to adopt it. Yeah. So for a product like that, you're trying to crack like what we call the activation energy. Like you're trying to go to the point where you have the minimum viable network. Because if let's say you have 6 friends, right? And 2 of them are using Momo, it really doesn't matter because it's still in a minority. But the minute 4 of them start to use Momo, you've hit that point where it's easier for the other 2 people to join the network because now it's like, we already, what's up? Like just, do you understand? So the way you do that is by first understanding this idea of network effects, and then you need to have a lot of money and patience and create game mechanics, behavior change mechanics that slowly move people to the new behavior. And then once you hit activation, you don't have to do that anymore. So MTN took away, like once they got a percentage of the network, you no longer get benefits that you used to get on Momo. But there used to be so many benefits on Momo. When you pay for something, you get like some discounts. Like you get more data when you buy with Momo. Like, and you have to advertise and talk about it and do these promotions. What are they training you to do? They're training you to build a behavior. But now that you build a behavior, they can take the incentive away. Right? So if you're a small business, don't try to convince anybody to do anything. It's much easier for you to be in the path of their needs and play to existing behavior. But trying to create a new behavior is a long and an expensive endeavor. So I wouldn't advise it. But that's the logic. The logic is you're changing behavior, and it takes understanding the old behavior. It takes creating game mechanics for people to try and test the new behavior. And you need a lot of money, sensitization. You have to do it for a long time, right? But MTN knows how much money they make per head when somebody gets in a network. So they can burn that money for like 7 years until they get the behavior change. But that's what it is. Yeah. So if you're going to do that, it's a long road, and you need to have deep pockets.
Yeah. So I understand what you're saying.
Yep.
But it looks like most of what you're pointing to comes with money, having money.
Yeah.
Right. So My only concern is that Charlie, some young guy has finished university, he's very good at coding or he's very good at sales or content or something, right? I know there are some businesses that don't take a lot of money to get into, right? But then there are other ones on the other side that take a lot of money. Yeah. So what will you tell a founder who doesn't really have the funds to start their business? What advice would you give?
Build a service business. Okay. Don't build a product. So most founders who are trying to get into business, especially in tech, right? They're trying to build products. Products take money. Products need money to grow. But a service is very different. A service is, you have a problem now, I'll solve it for you, give you money in return. Okay, what's an example of a service business? Websites. Websites is a service business.
Yeah.
It's something that I need to use on a regular. It's something that when I come to you, there's a fixed trade. You give me 2,000 cedis, I'll give you a website. All right? I'll say this for free. And you see, you have to look. So for example, in the wedding planning space, right? It's a huge market. It's big. But everybody that's trying to get in there is trying to get in there by building a product. It will not work. Now, I am at a decent place in my career. I've been doing this for over 10 years. But the last conversation I had was with a wedding planner who wanted her pricing brochure redesigned. And I'm like, yeah, bring it. I'll do it. Why? Because I know that there are 1,000 other people like her. If I can figure out what she needs and do it for her and figure out how much she can pay for it and find a system around producing it and replicate it 1,000 times, I can make money. So if you're starting out and you don't have money, you have to be of service. You can't build a product and start charging subscriptions. You're going to have to build bespoke things. You're going to have to build custom things. You're going to have to build one-on-one things for people and do that for a while because that creates cash flow. And over time, when you see the trends, then you can start to build product. Many young people jump to building products, especially in tech. That's why you don't make any money. Like, look, I know people, like, we have a website design business, right? Our website business does well. Right? Like it does fairly well in a year. Like, and it's not a product, it's a subscription. People come to us, say, we need a website. Okay, what do you need? We'll go to and it's frustrating as hell. We go. Okay, here's your website. They'll pay us some coins and then we'll go away. But the point is, in a year, there are more people willing to pay me that amount of money. There's somebody willing to give me a subscription. Yeah. So when you're starting without money, it's a service business. Find a service business. So even if you have a space where you think you could potentially be a product, so you know your review thing. Instead of making it a product, is you find 4 or 5 businesses that you think is very, very crucial to, and go like, hey, we want to build this thing for you. It's not a subscription. I'm coming to build for you a thing that allows you to take reviews. Okay, what are your problems? Okay, go and talk to the people and find out what they need right now and build it for them and collect money for it. And find the next person who has a similar problem, do it, collect money. And do that 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 times. And after you've done that, a pattern begins to emerge. Okay, here's the one problem that everybody, let me give you an example. We started doing, when I started a creative agency, we used to do everything, right? We still start from like strategy, branding, product design, websites. Okay. We used to serve US customers from like 2020 to about like 2023. I kind of got burnt out, shut down the business, and I started over again. When I started over again, the market has changed. So now we started working in Ghana. Okay. When I came to Ghana, that was really tough. Different economy, different thinking, different pricing. But then I was like, oh, wait. It seems the thing that everybody was asking for was websites. Okay, we're going to specialize in websites. So I went to because we used to build only a Webflow because US customers could pay for Webflow. But once I figured out people wanted websites, and that was the thing they were coming to me for, I'm like, we need to understand everything about how, like all the different platforms. Wix, Squarespace, WordPress, Webflow, Framer, like custom builds and vessel deploy. Like we need to understand everything. So that was step 1. Okay, step 2, who is coming to us? And I realized that, it was people in the boring sectors, schools, oil and gas companies, law firms. They were not cool tech companies. What do these people need? They need websites. Okay, they don't need anything fancy. They're willing to pay like 15K, 20K. Okay, cool. How do we produce so that I'm of service. So I'm not sitting here as Eldad with all that I know about the tech space and all the experience I've had trying to build any product yet, because I'm like, I know that it's not MFA, it's not go fly. So I still have a service business that generates cash flow, that gives us the bandwidth to think about all this. So every now and then we'll try something. We'll try to build a product. But I quickly realized that it takes a lot of work and a lot of money to actually build a product that works. So you either have time or you have money. So I know this guy who has an ERP, right? He's built an ERP. His distribution is at the Hacho Center Point Mall because there are so many stores there. So he lives there. Every time I go to Fidel Cafe, I'll see him there. Why? Because that is the people he can serve. When I met him a year ago, he was struggling with sales. When I spoke to him like 2 weeks ago, I was like, yeah, like we are doing sales and we are charging their tiers. Even though it's a product, he has to behave like it's a service. Yeah. The customer will call him and go and fix an issue. Like the customer has a problem, the customer needs a tool, he's going to do it. So if you don't have money, you need to have time. The problem is a lot of young people don't have money, but want to build things that require money to grow. So if you're starting young, I'm talking to you, if you're starting young, please hear me out. Find a problem that a single business has that you can solve in exchange for money now, and charge them a maintenance fee to keep things going. And do that 7, 8, 9, 10 times. Yeah. That's where you start from. And then down the line, you can start to figure out, okay, what are the trends? What are the things that, and go into the utilitarian spaces, go into beauty, food. Like, those are the spaces that a lot of people are spending money right now, and there are businesses that have problems. So I am like the wedding planning space. We need to build something for it. So we've even gotten to the point of building wedding websites. Because somebody asked me and I did it once. I'm like, oh, interesting. Like, we don't have a certain quality. So, Charlie, it's humility. Like, too many people, too many devs, even like people that are trying to build like non-tech products. It's the same thing. We are so caught up in our own ideas of what we think we want. And we're not really asking, what do people need? Because if you ask what people need, you go see them. You will see that, oh, here's the thing that everyone keeps complaining about. Here's the thing that nobody's talking about. Like, okay, find one person. Can I solve this problem for you? Great. How much will you pay me for it? And do that. Yeah. If you do that for 6 people, then you can go like, okay, we've done it for 6 people. Here are the 7 things they all have in common. Okay, maybe let's put it in a product and sell to the 8th person. But when the 8th person comes, you go like, who's using it? So, oh, all these people are using it already. We've been working for them. Like, but service businesses are still the quickest way to make money. Like the fantasy of product subscription-based services, we just don't have it yet. So if you're a young person you're building, dead it. That idea, park it for now. Go and be of service. Use your tech skills. Because if you can build a template, okay, that can spin up a website or that can spin up an app 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 different times for people and take 2,000 cities for it, 809 cities for it. Do it. You will learn something. And then you keep compounding. And the more you stay with somebody, the more you learn how many things they need. And here's the thing, when customers trust you, they expand the scope. because we've gone in to do branding for somebody before, and by the time we realized we're building apps. Because after we did the branding and we did it, well, they go like, oh, we have this other problem. Can you do this? We're like, yeah, we can do it. Oh, we have that other problem. Can you do it? Like, yeah, we can do it. Oh, we have this other problem. Can you do it too? Yeah, we can do it. Charlie, too many young people are not humble. we want to make big money quick. And for me, that's my problem.
Yeah.
Bro, I just send somebody 500 cedis invoice right now for a flyer. I'm not the one going to do the flyer. But I'm realizing that there's a need for it. And if I can connect that person to someone else, I'm not bigger than it. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I think if you don't have money, you need to have time. Yeah. You can't be broke and busy. So that's my rant for like how you should think about it.
It makes a lot of sense. I feel we should even charge people for listening to this, Charlie. You should bring some 100 CDs.
Yeah, Charlie.
Because like I'm really learning a lot.
I'm glad.
Yeah. So this like my last question is just something I wanted to talk about. So there was this time that I saw something trending on Twitter that I think a minister also was saying that the young people are looking for jobs, they are asking for jobs and all of that. So they should stop that and start an Indomie joint or something. I don't know. Yeah. Did you hear that?
No, I don't think I
heard. I mean, there was a part of Twitter that was talking against it.
I'm not on Twitter. Yeah. I deleted my account.
Oh, okay. And there were some people who are also like, I mean, he's not wrong. Like, it's not wrong. But is there something you want? Like, I want to know your thoughts. So if you have voted for someone, the person says, oh, Charlie, there are no jobs, start an Indomie business, right?
Yeah.
For me, I was thinking about it and I was like, it makes sense in some way, right? Because when you look at the number of people who eat Indomie, and the number of joints, but I started having problems when I was thinking about it, when it got to the point that like you need some type of capital or some type of money to start this Indomie joints. That's where the problem was, because the young person is asking for a job because they don't have money, right? So getting the money to start the Indomie business would be a problem, right? But actually starting it, having like maybe 7 Indomie joints, I think you make a lot of money in a month.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think about that whole thing?
Well, there are two things. I think there are two questions there. The question of if the person who's supposed to be creating a job, should they be saying that? Right. That's one thing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to answer that. But let's talk about the real question of like capital to start. I think capital is a myth for a lot of things. And I think, and this is going to sound so strange, I think a lot of young people who are trying to start businesses don't think small enough. Okay. Let's say I want to start this Indomie business, right? And this was I promise, like I can already tell someone in the comments, this will sound so unreal, but it is. Let's say I want to start an Indomie joint, okay? What is your vision of an Indomie joint? What do you think an Indomie joint is?
A place where people come to buy Indomie.
Okay. What is the smallest unit? What's the atomic unit of an Indomie joint?
The Indomie product. Oh.
Okay, yes, but one Indomie pack, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if I can get one Indomie pack, one egg, and I can buy it for, let's say everything costs me like 10 cedis, and I cook it and I sell it for 15, I've made a profit.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I hit up 6 of my friends and go like, yo, are they doing Indomie?
Yeah, you
right?
can do that, yeah.
You pay me 15 cedis, I deliver it for you.
Yeah.
That's how you start. We don't think small enough. You are thinking, I need capital because I need to get the joint. I need to get the stand. I need to buy the product. I need to have a stock. I need to do this. So you're like, okay, I need capital to start. And in reality, it's like, no, you need demand. You need people. See, I'm telling you, there are very few things, and I'm building some of them right now, but there are very few things that require that you have a lot of hard cash in your pocket to start. But again, it's service. Yeah. If you're actually good at doing the thing and you go to somebody and you can promise them, you can get the money before you do the thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. So like if you want to build an Indomie joint, you are imagining having a store, but that's not the smallest unit. That's still one level away from the smallest unit. The smallest unit is start from your kitchen. If you have access to a kitchen, you can buy one Indomie pack, you can buy one egg, cook for your roommates, charge them, cook for 3 or 4 friends. But see, that's the thing. You have to actually be good at the thing. And that's also sometimes an important thing to notice. So when you don't have money, you can't be trying to sell something that you're not the primary producer of. Does that make sense? So if you are not good at cooking Indomie, you can't start an Indomie joint, because that will require that you find somebody else to do the cooking, which will mean you need capital. Now, so I can even argue that maybe one of your parties' day way is good. You can go pitch the idea to them and make receipt, right? But I think you have to think very small. And if you don't have money, you have to sell the thing that you can produce. You can. Very few people have the skill of, even at the early stages, selling something that somebody else is producing. I think it's a skill. So good salespeople, they have that, right? But if you're starting that small, you have to start by selling something that you can produce. Now, if you can't find anything to sell that you can produce, and you feel like you're a good salesperson, then find somebody who has something that you can sell and try and partner with them, which is another thing a lot of young people don't do. We don't go like, oh, they try to do this thing. Charlie, what can you do? Why? Because everyone is imagining an end that they've not even had yet, and they're trying to protect it. So you haven't built a business, but you're like, what if this business gets big and they take 50%? That would be too much. But you don't even have 1%.
Yeah.
So why don't you get started and figure it out? Right? So that's another thing. Like, too many of us are like, we have this fantasy of like how big the things we're going to build are. So we don't even want to like collaborate with anybody. And look, we are all scared of like, they'll stab me in the back, they'll do this, they'll do that. Yeah, but how would you learn to deal with it if you don't experience it? Because I can tell you for a fact, like you can't do that many big things solo. At some point, you need somebody because you can't be everything. And it's all skills that you have to learn. So we should be okay with hustling. There was a period in my life where I just sleep in the office 6 days a week.
Wow.
Yeah. Monday to Saturday, I'm in the office. Sunday, I'll go to church. I'll come back Monday morning. And then I kind of grew out of that phase, built something substantial, got very comfortable, learned lessons the hard way. I'm back to hustling. So now I can speak to somebody who is offering tens and thousands of cities, and I speak to somebody that's offering 200 cities. And I see them equally as opportunities, not only to make money, but to learn. Right? So the minister saying just as an Indomie joint is saying something very true of there are more utilitarian problems that you can solve proactively instead of waiting for someone to give you an opportunity. So that I agree with.
Yeah.
And the way you approach that is not to have all the capital system. The way you approach that is to think of what is the atomic unit of this problem. The atomic unit of every great product, every great subscription is one customer. So can you serve one customer and collect money? If you can figure that out, then you can go on to 2. They can go on to 3. And if you want to cook Indomie, sell it to your friends. If you can do that, then you can go to 4, you can go to 5. And once you get to 7, 8, 9, then you can get capital. They can hit your mom's app or somebody that you know and go like, yo, I've been doing this thing. I've done it for like 10 of my friends. So far, like every Indomie I cook, I make like 5 cities. So I make 50 cities, but Charlie, it be slow. So I need a little more capital. I go, if you give me some 1K, like I've proven that the need is there. And like, so I'll pay you back at this particular time.
Yeah.
And it's easier to get the money that way because you've proven the thesis.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are trying to raise money. They've not even proven that they can solve one single person's problem and make the money back. Why should I invest in your business? Why should I come and give you? And the reality is that most of us aren't coming from rich families. That's fact. There's some people listening to these conversations where their dad will give them a loan and their dad are giving them loans. If that's you, fantastic. Build it. But there's a big number of people that's not the case. And if that's not if we are not, you have to learn to show working. So it's not, and so I think like there are too many young people on social media who are up in arms arguing about things, but they never put their foot on the ground. And by putting your foot on the ground, I don't mean sitting behind your computer and writing code.
Yeah.
I mean, going to work. And look, that's all a hard thing to do. So if you feel like, and this is another thing, last thing, not everybody's supposed to be an entrepreneur. Unfortunately, Africa has forced us to the point where most of us have to be entrepreneurs. But it takes a different skill set, to be an entrepreneur. And if you find that it's hard for you, go and find somebody who can make use of your skills and serve them. There's nothing wrong with it. A lot of young people don't want to submit to anybody. We don't want to serve anybody. There are so many junior developers that will make more money if they found a senior dev and started doing all their legwork for them.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you do your house, they try build. Peter is building like an incredible business. Like Peter probably needs help. But the problem is like you, the junior dev, you think that you should be paid 6,000 cedis for the part-time thing that you're doing. And Peter says, I can give you 1K5 and go like, well, that's too small. But the fact of the matter is if you actually go like, yeah, I'll do the legwork, I'll take the 1K5. You can grow from there. You can learn from Peter. You can build your skills. But like, so there's also like, we don't have a hustle mindset. And a hustle mindset is a service mindset. It's like, who do I serve? Who can I serve today? in exchange for money. That's it. That's the only question. The biggest businesses do that.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, when we hear of the Zucks, and they don't tell the stories like that, but that's what they do. Right? So if you're a young person, listen to the MP's advice in the sense that he's telling you to find the utilitarian problem that people have and solve it. And the way you do that is serve, start small, find the smallest unit of value, deliver and take money for it, and scale from there.
Right. Makes a lot of sense. Anyway, so, I mean, we have come to the end of the show.
Yeah.
I really learned a lot. I've really learned a lot from what you have said. And, I mean, hopefully the young people out there, they have also learned something and they go out there to solve the problems.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for coming.
Pleasure also mine. Loved it.
Yeah, cool.